strip out bad information coming in, as opposed to stripping out everything except stuff they know is okay. And they've built an extremely large user base that expects their system to work that particular way, because they like to be able to do things like embed arbitrary HTML that lets them put, music videos on their pages and make horrible eye-burning backgrounds and animations and stuff like that. And they expect that. And with the nature of this kind of a business that those folks are in, is that they don't want to do anything to upset that and potentially start losing some of that user base. So they're motivated not to correct that problem. They're going to have to keep kind of patching it and hope that they can keep blacklisting certain things. Well, unfortunately, that's generally not going to work. So what you'll see is a site like MySpace or other sites like that have lots of collected information about that are going to be very good vectors of attack for either retrieving information about something, about people, or gaining access to, say, their local machines or things like that, like was done with the Flash banner attack that exploited a hole. And I think you're going to see more stuff like that. And I think you're going to see it get worse before it gets better. So I think you're going to see more stuff of that nature. Does anyone else have any other questions?
Can we ask a question down here? Can you hear
Yeah.
So, I mean, these are all great things in terms of defending systems, but it seems to me it's sort of like, at least for the vast majority of systems being developed, you can do all this, but it doesn't stop the primary project developers from coding in a big security hole right through the middle of everything. Because, the people tying the systems together do whatever they want to do to keep things secure, and they might be security experts, but the actual web app developers tend to have no idea what they're doing security-wise.
Hey, I'm a web app developer, so be careful.
Well, I didn't say all of them. I said
no, I understand. No, I agree with you entirely.
So, you were talking about social networks, and today the big issue is with Facebook, at least on this campus, and all of the changes they just made to their policy. And while they wouldn't necessarily be security changes in terms of computer security, they definitely affect student security.
Yeah.
And, it seems there was no thought put into it whatsoever.
No.
So I guess the question is the following is, I mean, you've got a lot of expense to do everything you just described, because you're going to need someone who's an expert at security to do it all. Most companies aren't going to hire those people because they're too expensive.
Maybe.
And even if they do, the web app developers probably put a hole right through the middle anyway. So do you really see web apps getting more secure?
Well, they have to, or we're screwed. I mean, that's not to be blunt or harsh about it, but do I see them getting more secure in the next 6 months? No. Do I see folks starting to take security more seriously within web application development? Yeah, I do. I think that there's a general trend towards that. But I also see that, yeah, the majority of web app developers that I run into don't know much about security still. They sort of start to hear about some stuff, but it's they don't really have a good understanding of it. But it's the same kinds of things you're going to run into just as general application stuff. Do your programmers know how to write secure code or not? If they don't, there's a problem, and that's not really I didn't really address that necessarily in this talk, but I've done some other talks that have tried to talk about that. Of course, they've tried to talk about it because it's a talk, but that have brought up these issues and talked about that there really has to be sort of a multi-pronged approach to it. That you not only need to do improvements in terms of the development frameworks that folks are using to develop web applications to make it easier to write secure applications, but at the same time also doing a lot in terms of educating developers about those kinds of things. I am not super familiar with, say, most of the, when I went to college, they didn't have web application development, but my impression is that they're not pushing security as a particularly important feature of programs in that area, and I think that's a serious problem. I think that has to change. I think that academics have to make a significant change in terms of that. I think that people who are doing hiring have to have some understanding of what to look for in a developer. And if they don't know the right questions to ask, then they're not going to ask them. I'm not generally a big fan of certifications. I think a lot of certifications don't make a whole lot of sense. But there are some certifications that do make sense. And I think a good example of that is Zend, which is a commercial company that supports PHP stuff, has a certification program that includes quite a bit of security information on it. I think that's a certification that people should be looking for, because I think engineers who have passed that demonstrated that they know what they're talking about and they understand security issues and other, obviously other web application development issues. Yeah, I mean, part of the reason why you make it multi-layered is that there's a good chance that somebody just isn't competent and doesn't know what they're doing. If they don't know how to set up the firewall, then, if they don't know how to set up the firewall application, the firewall appliance, things are going to get through and you have to address it at other levels. But yeah, it's a serious problem. I'm not sure I have a great answer for that, but I think there are some key things that we should be doing that we're not. And I know I will continue to try to talk to folks who are developing curriculums and things like that to hopefully get them to consider secure programming as a key part of any web application courses, web application development courses. So I don't know if that answered your questions at all, but.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.